Hello, welcome to the Ghana Agenda. My name is Afrena Muzu, and today is June 3rd, 2023. In an unparalleled ruling, Ghana Supreme Court has declared that President Akufo-Addo's directive forcing former Attorney General Daniel Domelevo to take a lengthy leave of absence is unconstitutional. This dates back to 2020 when presidency pressed Domelevo to spend 169 days away from his post. Concerned about the implication of such a move, the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, and 8 other civil society organizations perceived this decision as an egregious breach of the office's independence. Consequently, they sought intervention from the Supreme Court, asserting that the president's action was unconstitutional and should be nullified. The litigation filed in October 2020 emerged from the president's steadfast refusal to retract the directive despite numerous appeals. After an intensive 2-year hearing, the Supreme Court upheld the applicant's plea in a landmark decision reaffirming the constitutional rule's importance. We will talk about that today. By way of background, this judicial drama can be traced back to 2020, as we've already stated, when the president Nana Akufo-Addo directed Attorney General Domelevo to proceed on his accumulated leave of 169 working days. The communication director of the Jubilee House further instructed Domelevo to relinquish all responsibilities pertaining to his office to his deputy, Mr. Johnson Ekwuama-Siedu. Interestingly, this directive was issued soon after the senior minister and 4 other officials from the Ministry of Finance filed a lawsuit against Mr. Domelevo to absolve themselves from an alleged breach of the Public Procurement Act. The supposed infringements led to the substantial payment of $1 million to Kroll and Associates, a consulting firm from the United Kingdom. The senior minister, Mr. Osafo Mafo, claimed that the Auditor General had committed legal and professional errors while auditing the payments to Kroll and Associates. This matter grew more complex when in May of 2020, Mr. Domelevo was found guilty of contempt for failing to respond to a suit filed by the senior minister. This court's decision, implying Mr. Domelevo's reasoning as unattainable and an afterthought, added another layer of tension to the situation, leading to the consequential Supreme Court judgment we saw this week. This case is a testament to the delicate balance between governmental power and the enduring necessity for constitutional rule in modern democratic societies. Joining me today to discuss the ramifications or the political ramifications of this Supreme Court decision, it's my good friend Paul Disosu, who speaks for the NDC, and Efa Amayao, who is the communication director of the NPP. We'll take a quick break. I can see them in the green room. And when we return, we'll tackle the matters table for discussion. Again, my name is Afrena Muzu. This is the Ghana Agenda for June 3rd, 2023. We'll be right back. All right, well, welcome back once again. My name is Alfred Amuzu. This is the Ghana Agenda for June 3rd, 2023. I am joined currently by my good friend, Paul Disosu from NDC, Massachusetts. He speaks for the NDC. He'll be helping me discuss the political ramifications of the Domelevo ruling. We would also be joined by Efa Amaya, who also speaks for the NPP. Paul, welcome to the show.
Alfred, thank you, and I'm grateful that I'm able to join the show today. It's been very quite busy for me with family-related issues and work-related issues, but today I said to myself, whatever the case may be, I need to be here to speak on the show since we are part of this show. We started, and we have to make sure this show is sustained, and people, always expect to hear from us our views on whatever is happening. The only unfortunate issue is that I'm very sad that if I has thrown construction stones into your ears and your eyes in such a way that you are now in the pocket of a father, that a father has to come and pay you for you to make a flyer, not to put my name on it. A father is just trying to run away from me, but unfortunately it not work. And I thank God that I'm here this afternoon for us to debate the issues out. And I hope my good friend Ifa will be here this afternoon, and let's talk about the issues. Let's speak truth to power. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Efa was on a brief moment ago, and I believe, I don't know, maybe his internet is giving him problems. So we should expect to have him shortly so we can discuss the show. Efa, I'm told you are, bribing me. So, I need a raise, Obviously, I'm getting noticed for being biased towards you. Okay, so Paul, you've been out for a while. What has been happening in Massachusetts? Any new thing, new babies? What's going on?
No, Massachusetts is still intact. We are on the ground, focusing on the local branch. Doing what we can do as local branch, and we are working very hard. All is geared towards the victory 2024, which is a must, which is something that must happen. Right. So we are doing the little we can from the branch perspective, and we are grateful, and we hope, and we think, and we thank our members from the branch with the great support they threw in behind us to help us, make the branch and build a branch at whatever it is. That's what is happening. Apart from that, business is as usual. We are moving around our personal issues. We are minding our personal business, and we are focusing on our personal issues over here. Nothing more business. Yes.
Okay, great. We currently have Afa Mayao in the studio. Afa, if you can hear me, welcome to the show. Paul was making comments about how you were bribing me so I could, keep his name off the flyer. So I'm saying I need a raise, Afa. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you today? Oh, I don't think I brought Afa on. Afa, welcome to the show. I was just telling you that we are glad to have you. So how's everything with you today? I can hear you, but I think we are getting feedback from you as well. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Afa. He's dropped again. Okay, so Paul, let's jump right into it because we only have 1 hour and have a second show scheduled for today. Paul, today we wanted to talk about the unconstitutional ouster of the former Attorney General in person of Daniel Domelevo somewhere in 2020. We recall that around May 2020, a case was brought in court against Domelevo for looking into a consulting contract between Crow Associates and the, I believe, government of Ghana, which was brought about by the senior minister, Mr. Osafo Mafo. Mr. Osafo Mafo accused Domelevo of unprofessionalism in auditing that contract, for which reason the court had found Domelevo in contempt for not responding to the pleadings of the senior minister. Shortly after that, the president has asked Mr. Domelevo to proceed on leave and take all the 169 accumulated working days that he has on the books. And subsequent to that, he was asked to relinquish his duties and pretty much transfer everything he was working on to his deputy, Mr. Johnson Asiedu. Now, CDC, which is the Center for Democratic, what is the other C? Yeah, CDD, right? Center for Democratic Development, thought this infringes on the independence of the Office of Auditor General and therefore seek interpretation from the Supreme Court or seek redress from the Supreme Court. This case has taken 2 years, almost 3, to adjudicate. And finally, the Supreme Court pronounced on the issue, reaffirming the pleaders' argument that it was unconstitutional for the president to have asked the Auditor General to proceed on leave. What is your take on this, and what do you think some of would be the political ramifications of a president asking an independent office holder to proceed on leave? Do you think this is justice delayed, therefore justice denied, that the Supreme Court took too long? What is your take on this?
Thank you very much. And you keep on interchanging Auditor General and Attorney General. So
Attorney General, okay. So it's Auditor General.
Auditor General, not Attorney General. And
perfect. Thanks for spotting that.
Domelevo is, an honest, dedicated, and somebody who is ready to serve his country. He's been forthcoming and he's been able to, bring a lot of issues under the cover to the open. And because of his dedication to duty, because of his honesty, his integrity, his, service to the mother Ghana, the current president sees him to be an obstruction in their way, because they thought he was exposing them. He was bringing a lot of, corrupt practices that this president has covered and showed and has cleared his appointees of. He knew that if he allowed this man to stay in office, this gentleman, Domelevo, the Auditor General, will bring out these corrupt practices and it will put his government in a bad light in the eyes of the good people of Ghana. An example was the case between the Auditor General, and the senior minister, whereby the senior minister awarded a contract of over 2 million to Crowd and Associates. And the procedure, the way that the contract was awarded and the procedure, and based upon the Auditor General's audit, it turned out that there was no any evidence to show that this actual work has been performed. Therefore, the Auditor General surcharged the senior minister, and the senior minister, knew there was going to be a disaster coming, quickly ran to the court, and of course, the court, as usual as it is, Union Force FC played around the case, and then, issues were thrown out, and finally, the case became a foolish case. But nevertheless, because the president saw that the Auditor General was being forthcoming, was, not perturbed with the threats, with the distraction, with the, trying to, persuade him not to go into, sensitive investigation and sensitive audit issues. The Auditor General was working for the mother Ghana, and he understood his principle. He understood his core mandate. He knew that he's an independent entity who has to perform his duty to mother Ghana. So the Auditor General was doing his job. The only way, and based upon which I know my brother, if I'll be saying that, the Akufo-Addo people copied a template when Professor Mills was in power. They then drew a bar for the Auditor General to step aside. They wanted to use that as a case to make a case to ask Domelevo to step aside. But in this case,
so in other words, there was a precedent. This has happened.
That's what they are trying to say, that there was a precedent that has happened before. But you see, the law is there to be tested. Domelevo was asked to proceed on leave. In Atame's case, he did not ask him to, or did not go through the way these people did it.
Mhm.
Atamis case, Atamis asked him to step aside. But in
Right.
this case, they forced this gentleman to go on leave, the 169 accumulated leave.
Mhm.
And you could see that Domelevo wrote back to them, telling them that it is, you cannot force him to go on leave, and what you are doing is unconstitutional. It's against the rules and regulations of the country. And they refused.
Right.
What happened? They ousted him out, and they made his deputy to act in the place of Domelevo. That is why when the deputy took over, the case between the Auditor General and then the close associates became a foolish case, because his deputy was not ready to provide the document that the court was asking for. That's why the court threw the case out and then found, Domelevo as to have be contempt of court without not following court instructions and informations. Now let's put that aside. I remember, and we all remember that we spoke about this and we said it's not healthy for our democracy, because Ghana has grown from a place to a place. Our democracy keep on growing, but it's unfortunate, very sad, very, unacceptable, very shameful to have a president that they claim is a human rights president to be doing this thing, to be stepping against the very constitution he swore an oath to defend, to be going against such a constitution. Well, when this thing happened, a lot of people raise issues. It is not CDC alone. It is about 8 CSOs that took the case to court, and it is taking over 2 years. The decision has been finally given, which some of us shared the idea right from day one. We had this discussion on your show, and we said that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was wrong. His NPP administration, they were wrong to force this man to get out, because they are trying to cover the corruption that has gaining weight in their government. And today, Mr. Muzo, you and I will agree that we have different series of scandals, corruption scandals against these very people in government. And there's none that has been investigated to its logical conclusion. Even to the extent that because of the way they were prepared to perpetrate evil to Mother Ghana, they try to frustrate the former, special prosecutor, who also have to resign his position. So this will tell you that this NPP government is a corrupt-born government. It's a government that has no, love for Mother Ghana. They are ready to ensure that they loot, and share the booty of Ghana. So for me, this is the judgment that came. The Supreme Court judges has no choice, because the Constitution, when you go into the Constitution, by the Constitution, it gives the Auditor General the right to perform his duty, and he gives the Auditor General the right to set charge who he thinks have, that's anything wrong against the state. And that's what he was doing, and he was ousted out. But the good news is that justice delay is justice denied. And that's an example of what has happened. Even though Mr. Domelevo has attained the age of 70 and has retirement, the Supreme Court could not have said he should be reinstated. But the Supreme Court has made a clear statement, emphatic clear statement, saying that the government, led by the human rights lawyer, whom Efa and Kojo DC and the NPP communicators on the platform will be defending, is or has gone against the very constitution he has sworn to defend. And this is very shameful, and this is very unacceptable. This is something that has been recorded in the Guinness Book of Records, that the president who claimed to be the human rights president is the same president who is fighting against the very constitution he swore to defend. For me, this has told, or this very strong indication to all of us, to incoming president and future president, that you cannot get just started up and then just force state statutory independent bodies, people who have the constitution, you cannot force them out. And it's something that a judgment that has come to live to guide us all as a country.
Paul, there is this allegation, mostly by the NDC, that the court is anonymous FC. What that means is, in most of the political leading cases, they turn to pass anonymous judgments.
7-0,
whatever number, 9-0. And so the perception is that the court may have been in the pocket of the current administration, or they tend to favor this administration a lot. Is this ruling an indication of sort of a change in that dynamic?
Well,
Do you
Alfred,
still think the court is an anonymous servant, especially when they have a case
well, Alfred,
that they rule in a way
if
that
you look, if you look at
benefited
the
you?
trend, if you look at the trend of political, cases that these Supreme Court judges have sat on and the judgment they've given, and looking at the basis and reasons, they give for their judgment, I should say, I'm not a lawyer. You are a law student and you are in the law school. You can agree with me that most of their reasons they gave based on the rulings they've given does not make sense. Does not make sense in a sense that when you take example, just a week ago, when the newly appointed Chief Justice, they ruled in 3 years ago saying that birth certificate is not a valid document to identify the identity of whether you are a Ghanaian or not. When you appear before the appointment committee in Parliament, look at the shameful and disgraceful manner in which she was exposed.
I think in that case, you just said, the ruling was consistent with the Constitution, and then he
how can a ruling be consistent with a Constitution whereby the Constitution of Ghana says to be a Ghanaian you must be 18 years of age, sound mind, and hot.
But there is
no, don't run away. He said you must be a Ghanaian, okay? You must be of a sound mind, 18 years of age to be able to vote. That's what it says, okay? Now, who determined who to be a Ghanaian? Now, they said a birth certificate is not a document that you can use to prove that you are a Ghanaian. But however, when you have a passport of Ghana, you can use it to prove as if you're a Ghanaian. And after you see the inconsistency of Ifa and his super incompetent NPP party is that the passport that they are saying that is a valid document, you have to use a birth certificate to obtain a passport. And, and Mr. Musu, let us not try to throw construction stones into the eyes of your listeners this afternoon. Look, the very body that is set up under the Constitution of Ghana that issues passport is the same body that set up the birth and death registry. So therefore, it is very intriguing, very, unacceptable, very disappointing, very shameful for Kojo DC and Ifa, their NPP government, to be saying that a birth certificate is not a valid document. That, apart from that ruling, look at the 2020 ruling concerning when John Mahama went to court. And I know my brother Kojo DC and Ifa will come and play mischief and say that we did not bring any how do you call it? We did not bring any
evidence
to evidence to court. But we didn't go to court based on pig sheet. We went to court based on statutory declaration of the election results. As we speak, if you ask my brother Kojo DC, if you ask my brother Ifa, who are a very good friend of mine, but in the wrong party, and because they are in the pocket of Baumia, they will defend that shameful, judgment of the Supreme Court. As we speak, nobody knows what is the actual vote in the 2020 election. And as we speak, it has not been gazetted. Unless Kojo DC or Ifa will tell me it will be gazetted maybe tomorrow next. This will tell you how inconsistent, the Supreme Court judges are. You remember during that case, His Excellency, the learned Chachuchi Kata, make a statement and ask for document. The Supreme Very Court judges who were sitting on the case said, you should wait at the right proper time, those documents will be given out. And they waited and they played mischief and waited for his learned Dr. Chachuchi Kata to finish his cross-examination, and then they refused to allow the person who has given us 4 different results to sit in the box to be cross-examined based upon the outcomes of the political cases that we are talking about. That is why the country and everybody have the perception that the Supreme Court judges are unanimous 7. They are not being truthful. Their judgment is outrageous to the common logical sense of human being. Look, apart from that, let me give you an example. You remember that the National Security Minister has developed a national security document. And in that document, it was stated clearly that the Supreme Court Justice, there's no trust in the Supreme Court Justice because of the way and manner in which they give their judgment. Nobody is here to denigrate the Supreme Court Justice, but we are saying that things that make sense should make sense. US, you are basing or you make your judgment based on the law. Of course, the law is something that has to be made based on fact or evidence that is produced or submitted at court. And for me, based on most of the political cases that they've given ruling on, it shows clearly that the Supreme Court judges are not being fair. They are not serving what Mother Ghana has asked them to do. Example, the Jachi Kwesi case, for example, in question that we are talking about. You have said, and they've given ruling that Jachi Kwesi's name should be expunged from all records in Parliament. You have not given your reasons. The reasons they said will be given on the 7th of June. Now, what injustice are they perpetrating on Jachi Kwesi? Assuming Jachi Kwesi, they've given the ruling on the very day they gave their judgment, Jachi Kwesi could have decided whether he should go for a review or he should go for what? Put a stay on the judgment. You see, these things that they do, and that is the reason why when the acting Chief Justice or whoever is going to be appointed, Madam, how's it called? Gertrude Tokonu was an appointment committee. The minority are saying that until they see the judgment, which we are all waiting to see this Wednesday, on the 7th of January, when the judgment come out, we will not know upon what basis are they saying that the man's name should be expunged from the records. Mr. Abuzu, let's put on record that when Mr. Jachi Kwesi, at the time of filing the nominations, okay, he has obtained his declare or has, taken the certificate to renounce his Canadian citizen.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, President Paul.
I know Kojo DC and Efa who come and be talking about Abu Sakande and blah blah. In Abu Sakande's case, okay.
Paul, let's not digress, since that is we are waiting for that judgment to come out so we can actually take it on. But today we want to kind of focus on Domelevo a little bit more.
I've made my case clearly. The president is corrupt. That is why he ousted out a citizen who is trying to make sure that he save and protect the peace of Ghana to out of office. And Kojo DC Efa should be bold this afternoon and say that yes, this time around they are incompetent, they are shameless, they are super incompetent, and then visionless and directionless president got it wrong. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Kojo DC, welcome to the show. I don't know if you can hear me, Kojo DC. If you can, please show your face so we can see you, and then answer this question for me.
You can see me, but you know I'm on the road. You see me, but I'll hold you up. You see, I'm working, but we can still talk. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you perfect. So, Kojo, we have this ruling coming down from the Supreme Court stating the unconstitutionality of the president's ouster of the Auditor General. What is your take on this? Do you think this should change the perception that the court is no longer anonymous FC in favor of MPP?
Thank you very much, Amazu. And I say hi greetings to you and your family, our shared listeners and viewers, and my very good brother. He just came from Ghana. You know how he's looking fresh. And looking for other government, though. It's making him good.
I can see the tan.
Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, my brother. How are you too?
I'm good. Thank you very much. You see, I think the ruling is a very good thing for our democracy. We unlike us where we don't bastardize judges when there's something that is against us. For us, we think this is a very good thing for us. It was interpretation that Mr. Domelevo went in there to say. And the court had made it clear, and we accept it. And the reason is just simple. it has just set a precedent again for all of us. You know, this thing had happened. I don't want to go back because he's already gone. It had already been happening before. We had some people to go on leave. There was no ambiguity in terms of Mr. Bia. He was on retirement. Domelevo, there was something of age differences that was making the noise. But all the same, the judgment is now the law of the land. It says that it was unconstitutional. And if you listen to all of our communicators, we've not bastardized the Supreme Court. You know, and when things happen like that, now the NDC believes in the Supreme Court. You know, that is unfair. So for me, this thing is very simple. We should all acknowledge that sometimes politicians, this is not the first time. If you remember, I don't know if you guys remember, there was before time, there was this custom officer that was removed from office. If you can remember, he went to court, he was reinstated. Even though the court asked to be reinstated, he was not. But later, I think when the NDC came, he was reinstated. These are the things that we all have to guide upon. At the end of the day, we have a country that we all share. We just have a different way or the direction that we want to take the country to. But there are certain institutions and certain norms and rules that we all have to follow. It doesn't matter who is in government. It has to be followed. And the rules, because at the end of the day, Domelevo or whoever is one is a Ghanaian. He or she might belong to a different political party. That doesn't mean he doesn't have the heart of the country. He does or she does. So for me, this is just simple. I think the court has ruled, and we all think is the best thing that has happened. It's not going to repeat itself because any government comes, likely event another government comes to power, that they are going to victimize other people as well. So for me, this is just clear cut. I can't say anything beyond what the court has done. I think it's very simple. It is good for our democracy. That is how things are supposed to be for our democracy.
Okay, sounds good. So, Paul, some are saying this has taken too long, and even though the judgment came down and it's sort of set the precedent, it's almost at the dying end of the president's administration, so there's no impact really. That a thing like this needed to be ruled on expeditiously, just like we had changed the laws to allow for election petitions to be fast-tracked. Some issues like this should also have be taken on a fast track rather than waiting for 2 or so years just to kind of give us a decision that has no bite. Do you agree that something needed to be done about this? Because it's likely to happen again, right? Because if I am a president and I know by the time the Supreme Court to come back and pass a decision, this thing will be moot. And I don't even understand why the Supreme Court to pass the decision anyway, because at the time that they were passing this decision, it was really unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have said, this is moot, and we are not going to, go into it any further because this guy is gone, he's retired, there's no point in actually making this pronouncement because really there's no remedy to him right now. He can, I think there was a suggestion somewhere that he needed to be paid. And even he wasn't interested in.
He has rejected. He's not interested in taking any money from the state. And I think, Amizo, I agree with you perfectly. I mean, this judgment delay is judgment denial, right? As you guys say it, the lawyers. I'm an engineer, so I'm not a lawyer. So, I mean, I think it's unfortunate that, this issue has been dragging for 2.5 years. Judgment is now coming out, and which is very sad. Because, if this issue has been acted on right there when the issue started, maybe it could have influence, and the benefit would have been to the benefit of the state. But unfortunately, Mr. Domelevo is over 70 years. He's proceed on leave. There's no way he can come back because according to our laws and regulations, in the civil servant, sector, you have to proceed on leave at the age of, is it 68 or 70? I don't know. But he has
60.
Okay. He has passed the age, long past the age. He has to stay home and then concentrate on his activity. Yes, I agree that maybe need to learn a lesson from this. But the question is, I mean, as a country, are we going to try to make or learn a lesson from this and make sure that next time, if there's any political case such as this, which have a very big ramification on people's human rights, and which, if they don't look at it early, it will, I mean, affect, or at the end of it, it will make the case to become mute, as you just said. I think something of that sort need to be looked at. And I once again want to say that it's very sad, very unacceptable, very shameful, very, I mean, uncivil for all these things to be happening under the human right lawyer. I keep on saying human right lawyer, who claim to be a human right lawyer, for he to be sitting down and this thing should be happening under his nose. This is unacceptable. So for me, I agree with you that, I mean, if, I mean, we can all sit down as a country, I mean, stakeholders all come on board and say that in the future, if such a thing happen, let's, I mean, fast track it and let's give or bring judgment to the logical conclusion. It's going to help us to develop our democracy. Don't forget, democracy is very expensive. Democracy is very expensive. So therefore, once we've all subscribed and we all believe in the democracy to be ruled under democracy, I think when these things come, I mean, the Supreme Court judges and whatever it is that give the final judgment to, especially issues of constitutionality, will plead on their behalf, whether they will give in favor or against. They should still go ahead and do this thing and fast track it and give their judgment and wash their hands off it. So that at least it will bring, I mean, settlement, it will bring finality and to parties who are involved, so that we can know and move forward as a country. So I think that's what I would say, I mean, on this issue.
Okay. Kojo, what do you think? Do you think this justice has been denied here?
I would say yes or no, because at the end of the day, what about if you fast track something, and then also know you guys know better how the thing goes. But let me just say this to my brother Paul. You see, if we are going to politicize everything, it's not going to help the democracy that we all want to practice, right? So at the end of the day, like I said, this thing is not the first time. If you look at the letter that the president, the executive secretary wrote, it's similar to what former president, may he so rest in peace, Atama's executive president, the same thing, right?
I told you it's going to be their defense.
No, I'm not going to be. The way you went over it, that's, you know, when I came, I just said that this is a good thing for our democracy. But if you are going to just pin on the president, oh, he's a human rights president, lawyer, and then he came, he's violating him. No, this is a court that has ruled. Unlike the NDC, anytime you have a judgment against you, instead of you accepting and say, this is the law of the land, we accept it, you bastardize the judiciary, any institution that you think is not in your favor. That's not how we can live. At the end of the day, the laws cut both sides. When it's against you and the law says what it is what it is. You can't change it. There was a unanimous decision on this one. Nobody said anything about it. And like what you said in terms of expediting this, I think that would be a very good thing if we can look into it. Because sometimes all these things come and we don't have any speedy try on things or interpretation of that constitution. And it takes 3 years, for instance, 3 years. And even if it's a year, well, 2 years back down, he already will be turning 60. You cannot go back and just reinstate him because the court has ruled, right? Because at the end of the day, he turned 60. So, yes, it would be very good for our country. We should practice what we preach at the end of the day. But it's just the victimization of the political parties. When anytime somebody comes into power, they want to show, I am in charge. I can control everything. And that is not going well for our country. I'll give you one example. When President Bush served his term and Obama came, Robert Gates, the defense secretary, he was, I think he was the defense secretary also. He was in there for about 2 years before he himself retired. Because there's a knowledge that he has that he can contribute to his country. So at the end of the day, if somebody comes and then we just think, oh, he was appointed by a certain political party, so let's take him off, he's not for us and it's good to do other things. No, I don't think it's the thing that we want. We need everywhere, irrespective of who is in qualified people who can do the right job. We don't have to change them for change sake because our political party has won, and it's not going to benefit in any way, shape, or form. So I agree with you. Yes, if we can find something like the Kufuor did with the fast track higher court, if we can do such a thing for constitutional pronouncement or what I would say interpretation, that would be fine. Then people will know at least a year would be enough to argue back and forth, and that would be something that I think we all be cherishing. If that would be done by any of these political parties, including mine. And like I said, we need that 1992, 1993 constitution to be reviewed. So the power that is invested in the president, the executive president, should be a little bit reduced in a certain way where we have the later ongoing government.
Okay, I think we are having difficulties with.
Can you hear me?
We are having difficulties with your sound, Kojo. So check that.
If I went to hire a lawyer, he's not showing up.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you. Wrap up your point and then let's.
So in conclusion, we just have to see we can manage the little that we have and see how best we can get from each of us in terms of the Ghanaian experience. That's all I think is should be here. So I agree with you. If we can find such a thing, that is fine. If it's not, we'll still do the same thing over and over, and that will tend to something else that I cannot say on this show.
Okay, thank you. Afa, welcome to the show. I'm sure you managed to get home now. I think you were having difficulties with your connection earlier.
Yeah.
Afa, we are talking about the unconstitutional ouster of the Auditor General. I almost said Attorney General again. Well, and the debate is whether or not that is too late a decision to come, because we were expecting this to have happened earlier when, the president had pressed him to actually abandon his post and transfer his responsibilities to his deputy. Now, 2 years after, the man is almost about 70 years old now. We can bring him back. Should we do something about this thing so that when we have issues that have political ramifications like the one with the Auditor General, that at least they are expedited, just like we always do with, or we have done with our election petitions?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I apologize for not showing up earlier due to connections and stuff like that. And thanks for your patience and stuff like that. I'm happy to see.
I'm
happy to see you because I wasn't. You were firing, and I'm now come to put you in check, and I might finish. I would have sized you into the real size that you should belong, and not give you the chance to balloon. You see, it's very interesting. I am happy the Supreme Court or the court has given us the way forward. I am happy about that. That is where we go and settle matters. Is it constitutional? Is it unconstitutional? Is this law within bounds? Is this action acceptable and stuff like that? That is where. So every time that we come here, I keep saying that when there are issues with it, let us go for the reforms and make sure everything is done. Now, this is even not the first time. There used to be a time when all the chief executive officers were asked to proceed on leave when a new government takes over. And then Okujeto, not Okujeto the MP, but Okujeto the lawyer, took it to court and said that is unconstitutional. And then it was pronounced as such. So if the Supreme Court pronounced the action of the president as unconstitutional, such that is what it is. You see, the situation where Paul was trying to say, Mills asked Mr. Ajimai to step aside. That is even dangerous. That is even more dangerous than proceed on leave. Then you come.
In the case of Ajimai, when Ajimai was appointed, even Parliament wouldn't approve him because Parliament thought, he was old. They didn't recognize him. So Parliament has already debated that this guy should have been, let go before the president asked him to proceed on leave. So it wasn't because there was an audit report that implicated a minister and that, Mills. That is why Mills has to let him go, like we found in Akufo-Addo, where the senior minister who had paid about some $1 million to Crow for nothing done, quote unquote, and in which the Auditor General was looking into. These two cases are a little different. Don't you agree?
You can say that. I perfectly agree with you. You can say that, because of his age and other stuff, but he was asked to proceed on leave. Because you see, and when these things come, you see, sometimes I don't like the way we want to score the political points instead of the way forward. Okay. So when it happened in his case, he was asked to proceed on leave, and we think it's not right. What should be the way out of it? Okay. So if there are legislations to be made now that the Supreme Court has even made pronouncement, it clears the air, and then we go on that. Okay, so that is fine. So I don't really think that anybody knew that somebody was doing anything unconstitutional, because you cannot sit down and say this is unconstitutional unless somebody thinks, oh, this is not right, and I've taken it to court. And there are a lot of actions that should proceed this line. A lot of issues that go on in the country. I think we have to use the Supreme Court or an interpretation to clear them off. Okay, that is very important, and we must at all times test the law. So that is that. Now,
so the president is a lawyer, right? He's a human rights lawyer there. Do you think the president, in addition to his Attorney General and a whole Ministry of Justice, sat down and thought asking Domelevo to proceed on leave is constitutional? Do you think the president really did that evaluation, or he was just playing political game with the court schedule and knowing that even if this go to court, it wouldn't be kind of determined right now? So I would have achieved my aim and get him out and get Osafo Mafo out of trouble. Do you think that was a political calculation the president had when he took that decision? Because I think he, as a lawyer, as astute that he is, should know or ought to know. Right?
Alfred, you say who is an astute lawyer?
So
the president has undertaken so many groundbreaking landmark cases in Ghana.
Yes.
His name is
he wants to. Paul wants to take away those things from him, but the records are there to show that he has extinguished himself as a lawyer. Paul, let's put the politics aside, and when we come here, let's do that.
So as a president who's a lawyer, who also has an advice of an attorney general, who also has the whole Ministry of Justice,
exactly,
does he think that taking such an action was going to be constitutional when he took it? Or he was just playing a political game? Because it sounds to me like the president was just playing political game, looking at the court's timetable and knowing that, oh, by the way, I can get this guy out. By the time a court will determine that he'll be too far in the years that Osafo Mafo would have actually gotten what he wanted. Don't you think that was what the president was doing?
No. Okay, so the same question you asking was the one that Dafia Makpo. Hold on. Dafia Makpo was asking. You see, it is not just this one, but the Emergency Act has also been quite as unconstitutional by Parliament. So Dafia Makpo was trying to say, hey, I need to see the reason behind what will go into a whole act of Parliament. They can declare a whole act of Parliament to be unconstitutional.
Yeah, I mean, if it is
something that has gone through, committees and debate, and lawyers have sat down and stuff like that. So you see, this is not these things are. I don't know if people will be surprised at this kind of stuff. No, me, I am not. Okay, once we go there, because you see, one thing that we should credit our justices is that, see, when you read their judgment, you see, for political reasons, somebody will come here and say, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. That is how it is. Certain things that an engineer would do will not make sense to an accountant. Certain things that an accountant would do will not make sense to a communicator. But that is his field. And that is this thing that he has gone through, and that is the conclusion that ought to be drawn based on that.
But the courts do make
So we ought to. I have no, of course, the Auditor General's position and certain other positions in the country have been a very political one. The EC, those have been a very political, very tense positions that, I mean, depending on which party is in power, want to, find their way and stuff like that. But having said that, I am in doubt, as in any government, any president, any group of a political party sitting down and knowing that this one, yes, if I make this decision, this is going to go against me. No, I would not. Sometimes they do a political calculation, yes, but you see, what is happening in Kwesi's case cannot be what the Supreme Court could have said is constitutional, but they said it's unconstitutional, right? So I wouldn't say that no. They sat down, did the political calculation, and no, I wouldn't. I would not even think that they thought somebody would take them on and take it to court. But we've had cases and we have a lot of this thing and you see, so for me, let's give respect to them. If anybody thinks that what they've said is not what the case should be, they can review their own destiny, right? So you go for a review.
We are just saying the president
nobody is denigrating the chief or the justices of the Supreme Court. But what we are saying is that some of their rulings does not make sense.
But in this particular case, their ruling actually makes sense, right? Because
in this particular case, the ruling makes sense.
Because a lot of people that says
no. It's not that it favors a lot of people, Mr. Muzo.
Okay, Paul, one more point before you come in. Because let us do. Yeah, one more point. You see, when we are discussing this case, let us stop using the name of the person in the office as if it is for him. No, it is for the office. And when the person is appointed and leaving, the person doesn't go with the office. So injustice might have been done to Domelevo because he was the person at that time. But it could have been done to. In fact, if this hasn't been the case, subsequent AG would have suffered the same thing if there was a change of government. Okay, that has been our normal political reaction. So justice has been done, and going forward, nobody will do that. Okay, it shouldn't be the case that because you are there, you must. I mean, if it favors you, that's how the law works. Some people are in court and then they even die. So the law corrects going forward, and if they can compensate you, they do that. It mustn't be that by all means you have to be the one, and if it doesn't serve you, then it hasn't served any purposes. No, I don't think that.
Let's put it on.
Okay, let's have Paul come in. Paul,
let me make this statement. Sure. Let's put on record that it was on this very show when this Domelevo, being ousted out of office issue came up. I made an emphatic statement on your show saying that the president was wrong. This MPP have perpetrated evil against the constitution, the very constitution that he, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the clearing agent, swore an oath to protect and defend. He has gone against the very constitution. I made this statement, and if you go back to your archives and look for the video, my brother, if I was defending it that it was constitutional, it has happened before, Mills did it to Dua, whatever they call it, and I said, no, look, Dua's case is different. This is a different case. The case arose because Domelevo was trying to expose the rot in this government. And by the way, if my brother, if I is saying that and the Supreme Court justice should not, chastise them, nobody's chastising them. Some of the judgment, an example, I would still want to go back to the birth certificate, which Justice Gertrude Tokonu 2 weeks ago in front of the appointment committee. Look at what when he was pushed and pressed and pushed, he now accepted that okay, it can be a document that you can use to validate your that you're a Ghanaian, but it needs to start from a point. You see, there are issues that is called common sense. You understand me? If you, the chief or the justices of the Supreme Court, you are telling us that if I have a passport, a Ghanaian passport, and don't forget that before you get a Ghanaian passport, you must produce your birth certificate as an evidence. Is the source document based upon which that passport will be generated and issued to you. If you are admitting passport as a proof of citizenship, but a birth certificate cannot be used to prove your citizenship, it's very unacceptable and doesn't make common sense. Look at the question you're saying. On birth certificate, Mr. Mus, you and I know, I can bring my birth certificate and show to you. It states mother is mother Ghanaian, your mother is a Ghanaian, father Ghanaian. If your mother is not Ghanaian, it has to be stated there. So I'm very, very still, not going to, sit here and chastise the Supreme Court justices. But I'm saying that most of their judgment they gave is politically tainted.
Well,
that is right. No, Mr. Amuzu, that judgment about the birth certificate, if it was not about the 2020, that Nanado has vowed at all costs to get a new voters register because he thinks the one that brought him to power cannot give him power again, the justice of the Supreme Court will not have taken that decision. And look, Mr. Amuzu, if today, if someone should go back to the Supreme Court for them to review that cases, I believe they will change their mind and allow the birth certificate to become a proof of identity to identify you as a Ghanaian.
No, I have a question. I have a question, Amuzu. Let me ask him a question.
Yes.
So you are saying that if anybody produces a Ghanaian birth certificate, that the person should be treated as a Ghanaian. Is that what you're saying? Or a passport? Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that. I am telling you that the very institution that I give or approve birth certificate, the same similar institution approve for passport. They are state institution under the laws of Ghana. So how come that the justices of the Supreme Court are saying that if you have a passport, because you have a passport, that passport will be accepted and you will be a Ghanaian. But if you bring your birth certificate, you're not a Ghanaian. I
disagree with him. One second, Amuzu. I even disagree with her on the passport because you see, here in America.
Exactly.
Hold on.
Exactly.
Here in America.
Guys, that's not the topic for the day. We can schedule that and talk about that.
If they have also said that birth certificate and passport cannot be used to prove your Ghanaian citizenship, it will make sense to me.
Okay.
But this is the case. You are saying one it is, one is not.
But she did not say so though. She said you can say that because you have gone through a process. That's what she said. She didn't say yes to that. No, she didn't say yes.
Okay, guys, to that. Let's do our last words and bring the show to an end. Let's definitely schedule.
That we are here, we are heated.
Come on now.
Yeah, we have another show right behind you starting.
My God.
We've not spoken about the corruption that is going on in Asim North.
That will be next week. That will be next week where we will have the judgments.
You see?
That will be next week.
I had wanted to deal with you calling for the fast track. You see? When it favors you, then you say, 2 years, so it should have been a year. This is this. So didn't you complain about this fast track even for the president? Huh?
Okay,
aren't you the party that went against the fast track order Kufuor established? Now you want fast track because now you have a case that you are happy with. You see, human beings.
Okay. All right, guys. We have Dr. Lawrence watching us from Virginia. Thanks for watching, Dr. Lawrence. We'll try to get you in studio soon to discuss more of the pertinent issues. Guys, let's wrap it up. So since you're on the floor, give us your last words. I don't mind if you want to use it on birth certificate or whatever. But the birth certificate, because we would I want us to combine that with the citizen, justification, what would you call it? Judgment that
will be coming out on the 7th of June.
Coming from the 7th.
If I already have the judgment.
If you have it, please share so we can all read
the judgment of what? The
Parliament, the Canadian Citizenship Renunciation.
The reasons by the Supreme Court.
Correct.
Yes.
How can I have that? I don't.
So if you have it, please share it so we can all read it.
Kofi Tonto was on Asempa saying that it's a criminal aspect and there's criminal part of it. And Kofi Tonto forgot himself that he was on the public radio. So I sent a message and I asked the host to ask him, how come he knows of the judgment that will be released on the 7th and we don't know? And before he came to himself, he said, oh, that's not what he's talking about.
Yeah, there is. I mean, he might be
Oh,
just.
but there's already filed a criminal case against him. It has already been filed.
Yes, the criminal case has been filed against him. But in Kofi Tonto's statement, he was trying to say that the Supreme Court judgment emphatically stated that he has perpetrated criminality.
Okay.
Now, Paul, if a criminal case is filed against him, why would the NDC be running him? Anyway, Paul, hold that thought. Yes. And
then there's the question that you asked, if I can just give a slight point about if the president was doing the political calculation or thinking that he was doing them. I don't think the president was doing that. The president there was a precedent that was available based on that. That's why the letter was written.
Which precedent?
Talking about the president was Ajumandia, the executive secretary of the president of Atamos, telling Ajumandia to go to a cumulative leave of 128 days and go.
Yeah, but we said that was a different case, right? Based on the fact that
it's not a different case. If you're talking about Crow and Associate having 1 million from the senior minister went to court and he was clear of any wrongdoing.
No.
So you can't bet that he went. He was censored.
What was the basis of clearing? What was the basis the court used to clear him?
We have the. I don't have the statement in front of me. There was a search that was against senior minister, the former senior minister. He went to court and they caught anything wrong. Let's put them in perspective. We can't just glance over it and say, "Oh no, this thing is different from that." No, it's not different
because the acting attorney general refused.
No, let me
because
finish.
the acting attorney general refused to submit the documents.
No, let me finish.
Alfred, you are the host. Make it clear.
Oh yeah, he knows. He's just.
Let me finish.
So you should stop misinforming us.
No, I'm not misinforming you. Yeah. The fact of the matter that was it a precedent that a former president Atamas issue a leave for executive for another AG to leave, and was the same thing that the president also followed. Now there has been a ruling that said it's illegal. That is why we have to move forward from that and stop doing the president was doing for political calculation. No, it wasn't the case. If the president knew this was what was going to happen, I don't think he'd have done that. At the end of the day, because one had happened already, he just used what.
So if the president didn't do that, how would the senior minister have provided?
So Amos, are you saying that if the case of Ajumandia had gone to court, that the court would have declared it constitutional? Is that what you're saying right now?
He actually went to court.
Yes, I believe so. Here's the thing. If the Ajumandia case went out, it is because he has already kind of.
He went to court.
And what
no. It wasn't about his age, but to proceed on leave.
It was his age. So I'm saying that.
Did you read age?
I didn't read that letter. It's the same letter. The word is white.
No. But we are saying that guys, you gotta kind of one at a time. We are saying that even Parliament wouldn't approve him because he was appointed after he has already passed the age. So Parliament had concerns over him, and these things were being discussed in Parliament. In this particular case, that was not the case. Parliament has no problem with Domelevo. Parliament did not. Yes.
Praise. Hold on. In case of Ajumandia being reappointed by President Kufuor, that is right. But under President Mills, he was already that aging.
That's what I'm saying, that Parliament had problem with him. I mean, he has already passed his retirement age long ago. He was supposed to have retired.
Why was the need for the letter?
Also know that when you are retired, you can be asked to stay.
Yeah, why did you? Just tell me.
You can be asked to stay on.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can only be asked to stay on, and he's been asked to stay on more than twice at the time Atamis came into office. You can only be asked to stay on twice. That's why we are saying that in that particular case, even Parliament had issue with him because he was on contract and he had 2 of those contracts already. You can have more than 2 of those contracts.
We agree. But what was the letter for? To proceed on leave.
Exactly.
Why did Atamis do that?
It's not like Domelevo was not on contract. Domelevo was just nearing 60. But before he could get to the 60, they've already
It
told
was
him.
61. It's 61 and 60. We couldn't know
Okay,
which
but
one
even
it is.
that, we have to go challenge him on. I mean, we don't need to regurgitate that. But anyway, guys, Efa, let me see, KD, since you are on the floor, give us your last word and let's take it
Let's
from
get
there.
them. All right. No, my last word is we all should appreciate what we have.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, this ruling went in favor of like my brother Ifa said, for the state. It's not for any individual. So that's what we all have to believe in. Like, if such things happen, we should go to the appropriate headquarters, find interpretation of whatever outcome comes, we have to accept and move on. And then today is not in your favor, tomorrow is going to be in somebody's favor. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be in favor of a person, but the institution or as a country, that we can all know that nobody can just come in there and take it on. Concerning Kwesi's thing, I think it's a different matter altogether. We are not saying that as of now, I think everything is good. By the time of filing, and that is the case where the Supreme Court threw him away or say his name should be expunged from Parliament. The reason was this one: you did not just start the procedure right. If he has done that whilst he was filing, that would be different. Before the voting, yeah, there is right before one, but that's not how it works. The EC asks you, at the time that you are filing, are you allegiant to any other country apart from Ghana? And he stated yes. Meanwhile, he does not have the certificate of that renowned citizenship Canada. So that is where the problem is. So my brother Paul, please, you guys should take emotions out of this. I'm not going to go bring Abu Sakande, whatever. No. The law is the law. Let's just accept it and move on. If he can come back, fine. We'll be waiting for him. But like we said, what happened to Abu Sakande, we cannot let it slide. It has to happen to anybody who does the same job.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. If you're watching us on any of our platforms, please try to subscribe so that anytime we come, you can get notification and join us. Afa, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the case of the AG has come up, and the Supreme Court had made a pronouncement. We move forward on that. You see, I am one person that has always agreed that is where we settle matters. So when we go there and we don't like it, we go and review. You cannot say you like the tail of the elephant, but you don't like the head of the elephant, which is what the NDC is doing. It can't always be the umbrella holding the bottom of it. No, So just as this unanimous has come and you are jubilating, it is the same way any unanimous. And the Supreme Court, if any of them is listening to me, do not take pressure from anybody, because at the end of the day, it is the law. The law stands the test of time, and they have the experience, the expertise, and the technical know-how. Of course, it is not a perfect institution. That is why it also behoves on us as concerned CSOs and political parties and government at each point in time to make sure you put in place the necessary reforms. Because today you are there enjoying the goodness of whatever it brings. Tomorrow you may be out and start crying. Do unto them as they did to others. So if we have problem in our Supreme Court, we do the necessary reform to make sure that they're doing the right thing. You cannot like it because it's against you and then dislike it because it is not in your favor. And talking about those who are talking about the fast track of some of these cases, yes, I do agree with them. But you see, justice is not really fast track like that, especially if you don't have all the facts and if you don't have and especially if you have to travel explaining a whole lot of stuff. So we must be cautious the way we go about it. The most important thing is we do reforms and we test our laws once in a while, because this one, it has been done to just about 2 people. It could have been done to about 10 or 15 or 20 people. And then by the time we correct, most of them would have been dying and could not be compensated. So that is how we reform. And let us not wait until something goes in our favor. I know the NDC have a lot of dossier of things that need to be reformed, but because it's favoring them, they will never comment on it. They will never talk against it. And then, once it's against them, then you see them shouting all over the place. And sometimes they use unprintable words, and you guys would have to be very, very careful. Now, on the issue of the birth certificate, the dual citizen and all that kind of stuff, I think the court have said enough. We may disagree with some of them, but as a country, we have to fine tune all these things and make sure that, okay, so when we come to identifying a citizen, this is how we do it. How are we identifying citizen now? By guarantor, by this, go and act, by do what language do you speak, where do you come from, and we have to. You see, sometimes we want to compare this country, but they've traveled a long time. So when you go somewhere and they accept something, it is because when they clicked on something, there are serious other documentations on your file that has already been captured, all the way from the Social Security Administrator to whatever your job, employment, to other things that they've collected. So you go there and they put one thing in and you are cleared. It doesn't mean that is the only thing. So as we are going, let us embrace MPP's digitization agenda, the way we are putting structures in place and all these kind of stuff. And you see, extend our ruling capacity, extend our ruling period, so that we can be on as a party for a very long time and put some of these structures in place so that it doesn't become an argument. It is a case of what we've done. 2024, it should be MPP all the way. And come Asin North, it should be MPP all the way. Let us show them that this is the party that provides for them. This is the party that has what we need. And this is the party that can take us to the next level. And not the Jachi Kwesin, and not the NDC, and not Mahama, and no one else than the MPP. Thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you. God bless you too,
Thank you
Alfred,
so
that you
much.
can have the strength to give us more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. There's a message that says this man is speaking the truth. I don't know if it is referring to you or somebody else, but maybe take that and go with it. Okay, yes, let's go to you.
It is unfortunate that we have a human rights lawyer who is in charge of the country for the past 6 years, but the AMA Ghana that belongs to you and I has seen a lot of perpetrated corruption acts taken against it.
Right.
And we want to thank the CSOs who took this issue to court to at least make sure that this time around, the human rights lawyer will not run and hide behind the political gimmicks he's been playing with us. And as we speak, the case has been stated, and it has been said that the human rights lawyer who claimed that the whole world knowledge has been given to his vice president this time around, he was wrong. I mean, he has gone against the very constitution he himself sworn an oath to protect. Number two, let's also state on record that this Domelevo case came as a result of corruption scandal perpetrated against the state of Ghana. And talking about corruption, let it be on record that Ejapa was never investigated, PDS never investigated, and Merrydale, we don't know what has come out of it. Charles Visio, and Galamsey, nobody knows what come out of it. Professor Frimbom Boating's report about 2 months ago, nobody knows what has come out of it. This should tell you that we have a government that has no little sense of pay for the good people of Ghana. All what Brother Efa and Brother Kojo DC's government and president is interested in is to loot the good people's money left, right, center, forward. And today we have them going to the IMF, begging on their knees, begging for $3 billion, and even the money that has been given to them, we know for a fact that they will go to Asim North and go and share the money there. If I can be on this show and be giving thumbs up, if Asim North is a done deal, they should go and share the money. IMF is waiting for them. It is so sad and so unacceptable that the people who claim they have the men and they always make the noise when they were in opposition, now we have them in power. They could not manage an economy of 31 million people to the extent that the IMF has to bring a representative to supervise the governor at the Bank of Ghana, bring a representative to supervise Kedo Foriata at the Ministry of Finance. This should tell you how corrupt, how useless, how miserable this NPP is. And it is a curse for the good people of Ghana to appoint or to re-vote these super incompetent people back into power in 2024. Let's vote for the NDC. Let's vote His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who has pleaded that when he comes back to power, he will make sure that all these scandals I've spoken about, it will be investigated, the perpetrators will be brought to book. Thank you, and I'm happy that you gave me the opportunity this afternoon to expose my brother Ifa this afternoon on this big platform, and I appreciate that fact. I hope he will not put you in his pocket again. Make sure you are bigger, Alfred. You are bigger than Ifa. You are too big for Ifa to put you in his pocket. Please, thank you. That is right away. That is right
All
away.
right, thank you so much, guys. We are going to bring the program to an end and then continue to the second segment. We have Togbi Madra asking, hope PLC will be coming on board. Yes, they will. We'll be switching to that immediately. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Afar. Thank you. So next week we would have access to the judgment, and we'll come back here and have those discussions. If you're watching us now, we are going to share another link or wait for our new link to the next segment in which we'll be discussing the Western Togoland. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate you.